Welcome back to episode 3
Yes.
of the Corner Booth podcast, this time from Pick Thai Restaurant here on De Maisonneuve Boulevard across from the Vendôme Metro, our favorite Thai restaurant in the entire city.
I think we can all agree on that, Lesley.
Yes, I love Pick Thai, and we also are close to the hospitals.
Should we get sick? Is that what you're
but
saying?
I think that's good to know because if ever you know, I'm just saying.
What are you trying to?
I'm not sure
I
what that's supposed to mean.
I always think that we're close to the hospital.
Yeah.
If ever,
That's right.
because you don't. If ever you have a loved one in the hospital, you don't want to go
Or
to
should there be a pad Thai emergency?
Or
it's good to
should
know
we
the
want to
hospitals
become
across the street
doctors and work there?
You know how good a place is because, we all love this place, but I order from here once every week or two. They don't deliver. And I drive and pick up. That's how good it is. It's worth getting out of your house to come pick up.
And for you, that's
a major,
monumental.
As you know, I live in Ormstown, which so it's a long drive.
Right? Pick up Thai.
Pick up Thai. That's right.
Well, actually, you live in a place where to navigate your way here, you would need probably a helicopter, because I'm guessing with the orange cones that it would take you about 4.5 hours to get here.
Depending on the day, because some days they close off streets without telling you which streets will be closed off.
Every day they close off streets without telling you.
It's like a bit of a treasure hunt, minus the treasure. So,
how does Waze? How do any of these apps keep up?
I have the Griffintown app. It's called Which Ways. So it's a little different, and it tries to work its way through the construction and the cones. And, I wonder when this becomes an issue in the municipal election. Who's going to bring this up? Is this a Denis Coderre thing to bring up the fact that it's become that bad?
It's got to be a Coderre thing.
It was just as bad with Coderre. I will say
I don't
that
think it
over
was.
and over again.
I don't think it was.
The plateau?
Actually, I think Eric's right. I don't think it was as bad.
We could
this
get
is
some
insane.
statistics on
Every
this
single street is being dug up as we speak. You recall, like Atwater West. On De Maisonneuve was all dug up for metro transportation.
What, the Maine?
Well, the Maine goes back even before Valley.
It's after Gerald Tremblay that everything
now they've taken
sideways.
the eastern part of De Maisonneuve from Atwater and dug it all up without telling anybody. And the poor bike path people, they have nowhere to go.
Yeah, but the thing is...
Except every other bike path in the city, right?
But the thing is,
but
American...
They complain, though, that their
Of course they do.
Because they can't... It's not good for them either.
Yeah, but no candidate can bring this up because then they will be haunted by it when they have to keep ripping up the streets. It's not over, right? So you can't say you're not going to rip up the streets. And Plante didn't want to.
Well, when
is
it
stuck
over?
With it.
Of course they're going to bring it up. Well, Balaram Maholness is going to bring it up because he has no involvement in.
But the other two,
does he not own a car or
no? But why
he
can't
hasn't been mayor?
But why can't he bring it up? Because if the other two are culpable, he's not.
I think the reason it doesn't get brought up, and I'm not sure it won't, but if it doesn't, is because it's not green to complain about traffic and cars on the road, right? We don't do that anymore.
He has a
point. That's verboten.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Can't do it. You can complain about it as a motorist, but you can't make it a general election issue because then everyone will weigh in and say, well, you should be using public transit. You should be not using your car as much.
Your bike.
It's a non-starter.
So you don't even think Coderre will bring it up?
I don't.
Very interesting.
I'm sad, but I don't think it's going to happen.
So now his only campaign issue is...
Will Prosper.
Will Prosper.
Yes.
Should not be allowed to run for Persian Royale.
And basically that's about the only thing he's got going for him right now against Valerie Plante.
Well, he does have a woman he just appointed, right, to head his executive council.
Should he win?
Yes, but Will Prosper, it's interesting because she has really stood by him. She said this happened years ago. The big issue here is that he never told her, right? So it's embarrassing for her to have to... This rabbit is pulled out of the hat the last minute.
Where's the vetting? How do you get a candidate to run for your party, high-profile candidate? Right. He's vetted, and no one could dig this up. It took the Journal de Montreal to find this story.
Yeah, and I want to mention something about the Journal de Montreal, is that talk about beating the dead horse. I mean, I just don't understand why they have to have 95 articles about one topic at a time, Did you see the day that this came out? I mean, obviously the morning meeting of the Journal was only focused on one thing, and it keeps going and going. We got it. Do they really? And it's so grim to read. We're like, okay, 4 articles is enough. We don't need 7. When it was Anglophones, it was the same thing. They beat the dead horse on all these issues.
Well, that's what they do, and then it gets forgotten about until the next scandal or the scandal that they create. But in the case of Will Prosper, so talk
they really
about that
found
quickly.
it, too. They got a scoop on that.
Plante did point out that Coderre, too, faced his... didn't he get reprimanded and have to do...
And he was investigated by the
anti-corruption committee.
By UPAC. Yeah, he got investigated as well.
Yes.
And eventually he was cleared and he moved on. So why shouldn't Will Prosper have the same sort of choice that he had?
That's a good point.
But Will Prosper lied as an RCMP officer. right? Said
this is not proven, though, isn't it?
No, it is proven. He's admitted as much.
No, but he said he gave no.
No, what he said was
he
went to look for details, but then didn't share them with the person he was checking the details for, an accused murderer, by the way. Said he made a phone call, but they didn't talk about what he had found. I'm sure they talked about cars and the weather, not about what he had actually found in RCMP files. So, okay, it happened a long time ago.
25 years ago?
Right, a long time ago. So, get a pass?
Yeah, he might get elected anyway.
He will get elected. He will absolutely get elected.
It's not necessarily up to us. Are we voting in Montreal
No, I'm just
North?
saying.
Montreal North,
should he?
But he will be elected.
It's a tough one.
You got to wonder, though, too, when Valerie Plante, because we were thinking when this story broke that she was going to call this press conference to say probably no, he's not going to run. Then she said yes. Then Will Prosper called the press conference that same afternoon. And again, we thought he was going to say, you know what, I've decided I don't want to be an inconvenience, if you will, a distraction for the party, so I'm not going to run. And he was there with her running again, which makes me wonder, did Proja not have a plan B here in case any of their candidates, in case something like this came out? Okay, if it can't be him, it should be him or her.
Because she knows darn well that he's going to win.
She stood by him. Okay. Yeah, but wait, is this also the new politics that, the stuff that happens in your past? Look at the Americans. Al Franken, who this happened a long time ago, he leaves. Yeah. Matt Gaetz in the States, not going anywhere until he's yanked out of there. So maybe these days it's like, let the voters decide. I'm not going anywhere. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about Chrystia Freeland. A lot of people think if Justin Trudeau doesn't win,
okay, sorry.
Speaking of gaffes,
she
calls a press conference. She's of course possibly next in line to become prime minister of this country.
Probably,
brilliant woman.
Yes,
cites a video, and she wasn't sure if it had been released or not, which shows someone's political inexperience. I think here. Oh, I'm breaking a news story. I'm not sure if I should.
Right.
Saying that Erin O'Toole basically came out and said that he does not support universal health care. He supports private health care. Posts a video, which we later found out had been doctored.
Right.
U.S.-style politics.
Yes, absolutely.
And now not even backing down necessarily. Justin Trudeau still saying, you know what, look, he unequivocally said this. No, he didn't.
This is the absolute desperation that they're in. We said 2 weeks ago that this man called an election because he wanted a majority. A completely foolish call to make in retrospect. Right now, it looks like he might not even get a minority government, and what he's doing to Erin O'Toole could well play into his hands.
Okay, but wait a minute. There's another side to this that maybe that's very effective. Maybe it's very effective to doctor that video and stand by it and say he did say yes, even if he said a lot of things before and after, he did say yes. And there are a lot of people will say right away, oh, yeah, well, the Conservatives want to get rid of, that just confirms it for
that's
some
interesting.
People.
Yeah, that's an interesting approach because we know the people nowadays, they don't read the stories, they just see the headline. If the headline is, look what Erin O'Toole said, how many people will actually take the time to go ahead, read the story, and discover that's not what he said? No, they just see what the Liberals said, the headline, and think, Erin O'Toole is okay with private health care. You're right. I think that's a good point.
Even though he didn't say that.
Doesn't matter.
If Bill wants to talk about, I don't agree with Bill on this one. I think the Liberals are going to win. And I think the fact that the Conservatives put out that absolutely infantile, ridiculous Charlie and the Chocolate Factory ad made me say that right there and then they lost the election.
You know
what? How can anybody who works for them put out that garbage?
That ad was not aimed at you. That ad was aimed at people who will be convinced that, wow, look at what the Conservatives did. This was part of the plan. We thought originally it had been a huge mistake. We found out subsequently it was planned to be embarrassing, if you want to call it. Honestly.
Really?
That's the
so
approach.
Amateurish.
No about that. No,
it was so nauseating and amateurish. It made me embarrassed to be Canadian. Everything.
How were you going to vote before you saw that?
I'm not somebody who's going to vote.
Not conservative.
And let's talk about what they're now talking about with abortion. It's up to doctors to make the decision and all this stuff. Melanie Joly was all over the place. Melanie Joly is the kind of secret weapon that they take out during elections to talk about women's issues like this. She's all over Twitter. She's effective. She's saying this, and it's absolutely true. So there are a lot of women like me who'll be like, forget about it. There's no way I'm voting for these guys. I don't want any conservative men making decisions about my uterus.
But you heard Erin O'Toole when asked directly whether he supported it, saying he supports a woman's right to choose.
Pro-choice,
he's pro-choice, but okay. But what about doctors? Are they opening the door for doctors to make a decision?
Okay. Last time we did this in our last episode, I asked a question. You both answered at the same time. I said, "What do you think?" Because he had just called the election.
Right.
How do you think he'll do? Do you think do you think he'll sort of get his majority easily? You said
walk in the park.
Walk in the park, and you said no way.
Absolutely not.
You said getting mugged in the park.
Getting mugged in the park.
It's 10 days later. How do you feel now?
Still the same.
In
fact, I don't think he's going to get a minority this time. I think he's really alien. It's not us he has to worry about. It's Ontario he has to worry about.
Well, it's everybody.
Yeah, but primarily Ontario. He's always going to get the West. He's going to get the prairie vote, and we're going to get Liberals are going to get here. But the Bloc Québécois will cut into that. The NDP could cut into a lot of the prairie vote Ontario, but I think Ontario is where it'll all be split.
Well, what about Aaron O'Toole coming to Quebec and saying, "I'm going to respect all your language rights and blah blah"?
Sure, he's a non-factor.
No, but they're all going to
Quebec
pander
City.
to Quebec. That's not unusual that Aaron O'Toole do that. It's a matter of who's going to offer the most. By the time they get into power, should they win, that's not going to even be on the table. He's giving Quebec $4 billion to build that bridge between Lévis and Quebec City.
Right.
No one even wanted that bridge really built.
Give us that bridge, for God's sake. Give us a bridge.
Well, I'd also like to point out that Frank Cavallaro, our favorite weatherman, is running in Town of Montreal, my riding.
Living in Florida.
Oh, that's true.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on to the next subject. No,
just saying.
Yeah, just saying. Yes, that's true. Is he still in Florida? Is Frank still in Florida?
Well, he was when he announced,
yes,
which was perhaps not the best
that.
decision to make.
Right,
but, okay.
right. He was with Ted Cruz. There was Cancun. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Maxime Bernier. So here's an odd man out, if you will. The folks
Just
who put together.
Just an odd man.
Odd man.
Here,
in or
let
out.
me tell you something about Maxime Bernier. I've had a chance to interview him on a few occasions. He is a nice guy to sit down and have a conversation with before you start talking politics
or vaccines.
Really, I'm down to earth,
they say
easy
the same
guy,
about,
polite.
George Bush. I hear he's very charming. Yeah.
Now, I want to ask the question. They have decided he will not be, at least as of now, it may change, he will not be part of the election, the debate, the leaders' debate.
Right.
And a lot of people are wondering why. And there are criteria set up by the Elections Committee.
You have
but
to have
you know
more
what?
than 6 people who likes you.
No, you have to have more than 5% of polling. And by the way, the last poll, depending on whose polls you believe, he's over 4%. Some have him at 6%.
You have to have at least 4%.
Okay.
National support.
He's got in some polls much more than that.
I heard it's more
I
like
want to
3.
ask the question, regardless of what the criteria are, because they can change their mind if there's enough people clamoring to have him in. Do you think Maxime Bernier, as fringe as you may think the People's Party of Canada is, should he be allowed in this debate or not? Should people be allowed to make up their own minds based on what they hear that he has to say?
I think he's a jerk, but I also think that basically he should be allowed so people can hear him out and know, like, this guy is perhaps the elevator's not going to the top floor. A few fries short of a Happy Meal, how can I say? And I mean, you're right, I've met him too, and he's an interesting guy. Of course, this is the same guy, as you'll recall, way back when he was a cabinet minister in charge of some heavy-duty department, left all these secret papers.
No, that's 20 years ago.
So what? I mean, judgment issues, and the fact of the matter, and wasn't he the woman from some sort of unusual background?
Happened to have friends in the Hells Angels and a motorcycle gang. Everyone makes mistakes.
Left some very secret high intelligence papers behind.
Let's just say left some papers. We don't know how highly intelligent papers they were. But regardless, tell me what you think, yes or no, to have him in.
I'm saying absolutely not, and the reason is because right now is a very sensitive time with the whole COVID situation. He is an anti-vaxxer. He will spread. He will use that opportunity to spread all kinds of anti-vax propaganda.
They'll shoot him right down.
Yes, but we don't need give any more weight to this. This is turning into a massive problem. Worldwide, North America-wide, and I don't want him to have any kind of an open door, even if everybody thinks he's a jerk or a nice guy or a kook.
But we give him more credence by not having him there, by people saying, you see, there's a conspiracy, they don't want me, I speak truth, and the point
is
you
weaponize those people by not having them there.
Including
but
them.
There's another thing too, which we were talking about pre-podcast when we were discussing. This is the best part of the podcast, is the 10 minutes before we start. But there are actually rules about why he isn't there, okay? And they were waived last time for the Green Party, correct? Is that
Elizabeth May goes back to 2008. She was allowed.
Also, they must be represented in the House of Commons by at least one MP
member,
elected under the party banner on the date of the election is called. Was that the case with Elizabeth May and not with
you're
him?
picking these things saying, well, just based on the rules, he shouldn't be allowed to go.
Well, why do we have rules?
Well, okay, but it's not a hard and fast rule. I mean, rules can be changed. We live, the elections change every couple of years, every 4 years. If enough people want him to be there, why shouldn't he be there?
Okay, well then can everybody, the Rhinoceros Party, can they be in the
but
debate?
they are.
The debate's already too short.
They are on the ballot. And in fairness, what's going to happen is that he's probably loving this because he's saying, look, they don't want me because I speak truth, and they don't want. Well, it's nonsense, of course, but that's the reality.
I just want to remind both of you, Maxime Bernier came within a hair, a whisker,
being the head
of
the
winning
Conservative. Yeah.
the leadership of the Conservative.
Yes.
This close.
Yes, that's
we
another
ended up,
reason.
we ended
not
up
to
with
vote
Andrew
Conservative.
Scheer.
And you know what? Had Bernier won, that he would have probably been, he could have been the next prime minister because people hated Scheer.
There you
Okay,
go. That's
so
a party.
that's a no for you for Maxime Bernier, yes
no
for you.
way.
Yes,
and a yes for me.
Yes,
Okay.
only because I think that it plays right into his whole power thing.
I don't want to hear him yak away. It's an important.
We need comic relief, for God's sakes.
He's right. The leadership debates are boring otherwise.
Yeah, well, there's always the French debate for that, Bill. Listening to everybody scrambling, trying desperately to speak French properly, and then the next day everybody cutting up Justin Trudeau, who actually speaks French very well, and all the francophones saying his French is terrible, and that Aaron O'Toole was at least trying. I'm really looking
Aaron
forward
O'Toole
to
speaks
that.
reasonably good French.
Actually, he does.
By the way, I don't know if you've noticed this in the last couple of days, and there are press conferences now every day. All the parties have them, right? It's starting to look like Justin Trudeau's sweating a little bit, playing a lot more defense than he thought he would be.
Hot,
when
Aaron.
he came out,
Leslie.
that rage with the Aaron O'Toole alleged comment. I mean, it was such bull.
Yeah,
What about the
that's a strange thing
housing
to hang your hat on.
conference where he was heckled yesterday or today?
By the way, what's up with hecklers? Are there professional hecklers who get to go to different events all the time? Is that like a job?
Trump did that for sure.
Yeah, but is that a job?
Yes,
Can you get that job in
I
Canada?
think we should go on the road and heckle.
We could heckle.
Sounds
We could
like
call
a
it
fun
the next
time.
podcast, The Hecklers.
Yeah, fun time to do that.
And how's Jagmeet Singh doing here in Quebec? What I loved is that he came here, did a big press conference about, ecology and green stuff and everything, and had his bus running for an hour.
Yeah, and good for Rachel Bendian for calling that out.
They needed the air conditioning because it's so hot. They needed to keep the air conditioning
It's
going.
all about heat,
I
apparently.
It's all
understand,
about,
but
yes.
I had him on the radio show, my radio show
And
today.
he's a very nice guy.
And he is, and asked him the question. He was here in Quebec. So what sells in Quebec for a federal election? The environment, right? We know Quebec's very concerned about the environment. So he said he's going to ban all subsidies to fossil fuel companies if elected. In Alberta last week, that's not at all what he said.
Never said anything.
Nothing. He just said, we need to focus on renewable energy. He said nothing about subsidies or anything else. So I hear stuff like that. I'm bothered by that, but I realize it's an election. They promise you one thing one day and another thing another day. I wonder, have we become cynical enough that people just say, you know what? I don't know who to vote for.
Okay, wait.
Screw it.
Do you want to hear cynical? He's also been criticized for having too many photo ops with his pregnant wife. Okay, come on. Come on. I mean, really? Is that so bad?
Yes.
You think that's
No.
bad? Oh, okay.
Who cares?
Well, exactly.
I'm wondering for a strategy
And
team,
how
someone to
many
say
and
maybe.
how many photo ops does Justin have with Sophie?
Well-
and we won't even.
Yeah, well, maybe she should get pregnant if they want to win the
That's
election.
the way to go, really. Every candidate should have
don't-
someone
Aaron O'Toole,
pregnant
can his
standing
wife have
next
a
to them.
baby?
Yes.
We don't
What's
see a
going
lot
on?
of Sophie, but come election time, we see.
Right, well.
I want to move 180 degrees away from this and talk
Jeopardy?
about something. No, not yet. Talk about something you saw about
Yeah.
restaurants and the situation. We've talked
yes.
about how tough things have been. I think everyone
Yes.
realizes that as far as
Right.
restaurants go. What's the story?
Right. Well, the Quebec chef, very well known, Martin Junot, came out with a big Facebook post, and he's always been talking about this no-show. So we've been talking about no-shows. You wrote about no-shows in June in the Gazette, and now
People
there's
make reservations at umpteen spots,
Right.
and don't cancel the ones that they're not going to, which is
it's
absolutely hideous behavior.
Yes, so a lot of people are talking about having a deposit for a reservation in a restaurant, okay? Now, one thing that's happened that's very interesting in Montreal, it's very hard now to get a reservation because a lot of restaurants have cut their dining room numbers in
Right.
half. So you want that reservation. They don't have many tables, and you don't show up, and then they lose the table, and it's terrible for them because right now they really need the money. They don't have enough employees. However, okay, are you ready, willing, and able to put down a $100 credit card reservation on your table to go out to eat? And I am not, and I'll tell you why. It's because I've been stuck in situations in the States where I did have to put down a deposit, and for certain reasons that I couldn't be there, canceling a few hours in advance, not 24, but a few hours in advance. I was told if you don't show up, you lose. In one case, it was $250 a seat.
Whoa.
So, yep. And so, you have to be careful with this. $30 a person, I'm okay with. If they're going to start really asking
but it's
for the law, it is the law that you cannot charge for a service not rendered.
It's the law in Quebec.
It's
not necessarily the law around the rest of the country,
well, there's
is it?
an article in the Globe and Mail today talking about how the rest of Canada, the author is based in Vancouver, really want to go ahead with this as a kind of a survival method to help restaurants. Restaurants are also being harassed by anti-vaxxers who are not happy now with what's going on, that we're asking for the passport, which I think is a great thing and a necessary thing. And in Ontario today, they said they're not going to have a vaccine passport.
And by the way, there's going to be, even though 80% approve of a vaccination passport here, there's going to be a revolution because those anti-vaxxers are way louder than the pro-vaxxers.
But also, the anti-vaxxers eventually are going to, how long is this pandemic going to be going on? They're holding back all of us. This could happen for years if these two society divided.
Absolutely, but you're going to see some showdowns at restaurant doors.
I think you are.
There already are.
I was talking to a friend of mine who owns a restaurant downtown, and what happens, he has regulars, so people who eat there once or twice a week in some cases, who he knows. He's developed a relationship with these people. He's now worried that as of September 1st, he has to ask them whether they're vaccinated.
And you also have to ask for a card, an ID card,
proof.
The vaccination, and I think they have a little machine.
And
well, starting tomorrow, they're going to have.
And what are you going to do to long-time customers who are guaranteed to spend a fortune, that have been coming forever, that you have not caused any outbreak of anything?
You know what you do? You say no, because either you're going to get a huge fine, and the government's even talking about closing down establishments that don't follow the rules.
But I understand what's going to happen because
it's a very tough spot for a restaurateur.
If people want to go out to eat, get a vaccine. That's all you can do.
I
save the staff, everybody.
I totally agree. Yeah.
No, no one's arguing against that. That's obviously the way it should be done. But Bill's right. There will be people. There are already people now who put up a fight when they can't get in because they're not fully vaccinated. That's why they ran the pilot program. So what are you supposed to do? You own a restaurant. The person who's showing up at your door, the couple, the force, has been going there for 5 years. They see you every other day.
Pandemic.
What do you do?
Goodbye. Go home. Sorry. Too bad.
And by the way,
and they don't really have a choice. The restaurant owners too. They have to protect their staff. They have families too. A lot of restaurant owners have small kids who are not vaccinated as well. No, I think they're just going to say, sorry, that's too bad. If you're a great customer, if you really want to come here, we have rules. The government is making us follow.
And it's not us making the rules, it's the government making us follow.
There are a lot of great customers who would say, hey, can I bring my own wine? Hey, can I pay cash and you leave out the taxes? And, some restaurateurs will do that. Sure. But what happens in the long run? If they get caught, it's not those nice customers who get in trouble.
Yeah.
It's the restaurant owner.
Good point.
And they really can't afford it.
Last thing.
Jeopardy?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
You mentioned Mike Richards. This is the best story. So the executive producer of Jeopardy decides to have a talent contest to find a new host to replace Alex Trebek.
Right.
Guess what?
And the executive producer ends up hiring the executive producer to be the host until we find out he
and nobody
said
liked
some
him much.
stuff.
Very smarmy character.
I guess. Smells a little like Ellen, right? Behind the scenes kind of thing. But he ends up, or we find out that he has posted some rather untoward comments, sexist,
more than that,
racial. He's
creepy.
Gone.
Right.
Okay. How did this story gain national attention?
Huge, because so many people watch Jeopardy.
And so many people are fed up talking about COVID.
But wait, isn't it Ben Vereen who wanted the job?
No, LeVar Burton.
Oh my God, that is so funny. I am so sorry.
Shame.
Okay.
Shame.
That's a little bit funny, though. You have to admit. I just proved something. I'm the only person who doesn't watch Jeopardy at this table because, wait, Ben Vereen was a great dancer.
If you want to go with that.
He's a great dancer, a great
Ben
showman.
Ben Vereen was a great dancer. That's right.
I really just
and the Jeopardy dancer is.
Anyway, but the funny thing is LeVar Burton underwhelmed as a guest host.
He was okay.
He was okay.
Yeah.
You know what I like the best? Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers was good.
Aaron Rodgers was terrific. I mean, he just brought a certain je ne sais quoi, and he's smart.
Yeah, and the CBS guy from 60 Minutes, whose name I've now conveniently forgotten. Bill. He was very good too. I mean, he's no Ben Vereen, but he wasn't bad.
Okay, look, just a second. They should call Ben Vereen. Anyway, he knows how to wear sequins. That's all I know, okay?
What do we? So
Because that's very important.
Because Jeopardy could use some sequins, okay? It's a little bit dull
Alex
and
Trebek's
nerdy.
best
And
shows were with sequins.
Okay, who would we like to? Who would? A little fantasy moment. Who
Guest
would we
host?
like to see as the host of?
I don't mind Ms. Bialik, but I think that there are some issues vis-a-vis her scientific thinking. She denies that she's anti-vax, but she has a bit of the Gwyneth Paltrow in her, which
does
scares
she?
the bejesus
I
out
would
of
like,
me.
now that you asked the question, I thought about it, I would like to see Kathy Griffin as the host of Jeopardy.
Oh my God!
Oh, poor Kathy Griffin.
Yeah, well,
she's very
not
sick.
doing well, but
Yeah.
I would like to see Rosie O'Donnell.
Come
Come on, she'd be great. Come on.
maybe, yeah.
She'd throw in
I
some
like
Trump comments.
Savannah Guthrie. I thought was really good. I thought Katie Couric was okay.
Katie Couric, yes.
Why
Jodie
not?
Foster.
Why not a
who was-
woman?
Well, what's Rosie O'Donnell? Okay. Okay.
No, I'm saying.
I love Rosie
Maybe
O'Donnell.
Rosie
She'd be very
O'Donnell and
funny.
have a celebrity week on Jeopardy
With
with Donald Trump,
Trump.
as
Yes.
one of the
Oh my
contestants.
God, yeah.
That'd be
Yeah.
worth watching.
No,
With some ex-cons.
I mean, but it's so sleazy, that whole process, that they go through the motions of having guest hosts for about a half a year.
Yeah, when the
and
decision
then-
was already
and
made.
then this guy decides, oh no, I'm the guy.
Yeah,
And-
that is-
But
that
how
is
could he
bad.
stay on as executive producer in light of all this? He's got to be gone. He's
He
also
must have a contract, I guess, so
Where's
that's
Pat
how he gets to
Sajak?
stay on.
I mean, come on, let's bring some guys in from
he's
the
busy
past.
doing Wheel of Fortune.
Wheel of
it
Fortune.
still
He's
on?
also the executive producer of that show.
Okay,
Where
next
have you
topic.
been?
I do want to make one little
Yes.
comment before we stop, okay?
Yeah.
Because this is a passionate subject with Montrealers. I'm sick and tired of what's going on with the traffic in this city. Not the traffic, the drivers, okay? Nobody stops at stop signs anymore. And the worst thing in Quebec, nobody stops at a crosswalk. And I'd like to point out that as soon as I brought up this subject, the whole restaurant got quiet, okay? Montreal drivers need a spanking, or they need more tickets, and not for parking, but where. Okay, I have gotten a ticket in this city for going through through a stop sign. I was in a rush.
What?
I admit,
What?
I was in a
I
rush.
admit-
That was your defense?
I
Did
know.
we not vet you?
The toddlers were crying in the back seat. I don't know, but yeah, I wasn't. This is why I could never run for office, because I got to.
I was in a rush.
Well, I was.
Officer, I'm sorry. I had somewhere to be.
I was a little bit.
Have
Well,
you ever
it
driven
didn't work.
with Aaron?
Officer, I
didn't
was on
work.
my way to Ben Vereen's house. I'm sorry.
But it didn't work. I said I was in a rush. You understand, don't you? And he goes, no.
No.
Anyway, but just to say, I'm better now. I've recovered.
Okay.
I paid the ticket. I did my dues or whatever. I picked up garbage. But seriously, like all seriousness, I have seen 2 people in the past month almost get killed on crosswalks. So people who just go right
Yeah.
through crosswalks,
So
and that doesn't happen in
So
Ontario.
your question is, why do we drive like asswipes in this town?
No, the question is, why are we not paying more attention to
Well, the
things
question
like these?
is because
But
people
no,
are so irritated
no,
by the
look-
constant construction, and it's hot.
Yes, you get short-tempered driving. There's no question in the city. If you're out there enough, you will become short-tempered because of all the construction. But look,
Right.
this is not new. In Toronto, you see the way they treat crosswalks?
Yes.
They're lit.
They're like
They're
shrines.
overheads,
Yeah.
and if you so much as if you're a driver, so much as go an inch
Yes.
into that, you'll get
Yes.
yelled at and ticketed eventually.
Yes.
Here we paint some
Torch-bearing
lines and
mob
hope
will
they
come
don't go
after
away.
you.
And if those
Yes.
lines,
Yeah.
you're done. You're on your
there
own.
was once a crosswalk there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That
Right.
needs
Only
to change, and
dinosaurs
until
used
that
it.
changes,
Yeah.
it's not going to
Oh
get
no,
any
but
better.
we really do, because it's known that in Quebec, I mean, the jaywalking is bad.
Yeah.
The crosswalks are a joke. Why do we even have them? The people cutting you off on the right-hand lane. Don't even get me started on the 15 going up north. The crazy people weaving in and out of the traffic, and then then people like me get a ticket. Like, why are we ticketing?
Stop.
Oh, shoot.
I'm so innocent.
I tried to slip
Yeah,
that
okay.
in, but
Nice try.
but seriously, I really think that the cops have to buckle down on all this crazy illegal driving in the
Someone
city.
should
And
bring it up.
crosswalks number
yeah, no,
one.
but someone should bring it up.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone
Crosswalks,
has.
you can't even find a crosswalk. It's all been like cemented over, under, whatever.
I was in Picton, Ontario when I was young, and I walked on a crosswalk, and I heard
Yeah, cars
all
jamming
the
on the
cars
brakes.
stopped.
Yes.
I thought, what's going on? And it's because they stopped.
Different
at the
mindset
crosswalk.
there, clearly, than here.
Absolutely.
All right, we're
So
out of
let's move
time.
to Picton?
Well, it's Prince Edward County. There's good wine.
Oh.
Well,
Oh,
it's a
that's-
thought.
that's
We are
a
out of
thought.
time. The corner booth. We will be back with you in a couple of weeks. Want to thank our producer John Collett for being here, and the nice people at Restaurant Pic Thai,
Yep.
where they actually have pad thai at Pic Thai.
Amongst
pick
the-
up some
amongst-
pad thai
at
amongst
Pad Thai.
other fab food.
Yeah.
And if you haven't been here, you should come because it's great
fantastic.
Thai food.
And don't